Good morning. Welcome to the Rankin Report for Sunday, April the 11th, 2021. We're in the 8th part of our series on analyzing the Declaration of Independence and the grievances that the founders had against the King's government in London and how it relates to us today, since many people are still feeling the same things as were felt back then. Only these days it's tough to put a voice to them. Well, in the effort of trying to give a voice to this, we're analyzing the Declaration and the grievances, and to see how they're both different and similar to the conditions of 250 years ago. We're coming up on perhaps the most challenging or the greatest complaints by the colonists against King George's government, greater even than the fact that they're passing taxes for us and we don't have a say in it. There's worse stuff here that they charge the government with. For suspending our own legislatures and declaring themselves invested with power to legislate for us in all cases whatsoever. He has abdicated government here by declaring us out of his protection and waging war against us. He has plundered our seas, ravaged our coasts, burnt our towns, and destroyed the lives of our people. He is at this time transporting large armies of foreign mercenaries to complete the works of death, desolation, and tyranny, already begun with circumstances of cruelty and perfidy scarcely paralleled in the most barbarous ages, and totally unworthy of the head of a civilized nation. He has constrained our fellow citizens taken captive on the high seas to bear arms against their country, to become the executioners of their friends and brethren, or to fall themselves by their hands. He has excited domestic insurrections among us, and has endeavored to bring on the inhabitants of our frontiers, the merciless Indian savages, whose known rule of warfare is an undistinguished destruction of all ages, sexes, and conditions. The key to all of these is the second of the complaints. The man the colonists thought was their king, the one they bypassed Parliament to directly serve, has now become their enemy. They were willing to serve him, but the king has now sent his soldiers to suspend their own bodies of law, ruling over them as a despot would, capture their friends and neighbors to conscript them to fight in his army, bringing in both foreign and domestic mercenaries to fight against them, as if regular British troops weren't enough, destroying commerce, towns, and lives in the process. The situation was a little like what President Reagan once said of his former political affiliation. I didn't leave the Democratic Party. They left me, or the party left me. Many today now feel the same about those who they thought they elected to serve them, finding now that they are serving the folks they elected instead of the other way around. Protections for illegal aliens are preferred over those for ordinary citizens. People's businesses have been destroyed as cities burned over the previous summer. Those of political leanings similar to the ruling elites are encouraged to inform on those who hold different viewpoints, as cancel culture attempts to silence such alternative viewpoints, and significantly, one of those disliked viewpoints is Christianity itself, which may be at the heart of this process. For as much as the left may try to deny, distract, or obfuscate the idea, the faith was at the heart of the founding of the United States. Some have even suggested that the left encourages the illegal entry into the nation of members of the brutal MS-13 gang, and supports groups like Antifa, using them as a kind of private paramilitary group to harass those who disagree with them damaging and destroying their property, much the same as the Nazi Party in Germany used the Sturmabteilung, if I'm pronouncing it correctly. You know it better as the SA, which means Storm Detachment, or more widely as the Brown Shirts. Ironically, Antifa is shorthand for anti-fascist, yet group members use such fascistic tactics in their operations. And whether or not the description of Native American nations in the mid-1700s as merciless people who kill everyone in sight, regardless of whom they might be, is accurate can be debated. But the reference to the German mercenary groups known as the Hessians cannot be. It is absolutely clear. They're bringing in these folks to kill us. Such behavior against the people is unworthy of those who were, for all intents and purposes, hired by the people to do the work of government. Only the effort is far more insidious now than it was then. The colonists had 150 years of self-government to develop themselves into an entirely new people without their even thinking about it. But those who prefer a global oligarchical system run by elites have also been using the education system to train young people in this nation for generations to accept such a system and scrap the freedoms they enjoy under the Constitution. The result is that our people are sharply divided as never before. And this brings us to two questions. Can our people be reconciled to one another, as some tried to reconcile the colonists and the London government? Or are the divisions to grow ever more distinct until a breaking point at last is reached? If the former is possible, then by what means can our people be reconciled? If the latter is to be our lot, what happens then? How did the founders respond, and what is to be our response today as believers? This we will look at in our next installment. And I know what some of you will think. What about 2 Chronicles 7:14? If my people who are called by my name shall humble themselves and seek my face and turn from their wicked ways, then will I hear from heaven, forgive their sin, and heal their land. Yes, that is true, and that has happened at several points in our nation's history. But are we at that point yet where even believers have reached that point? We'll take a look at this next time. Now, that's not to say that you can't take advantage of that provision now. And if you have not accepted Jesus as Savior, I beg you to please take him up on it. He offers it freely to everybody because he loves us. He does not want to see us fighting each other. He does not want to see things deteriorate to the point where blood is shed. And I usually describe how these days in the comments below this. If you have been learning something from this series, I don't know whether you can call it enjoying it or not, but if you've been learning something, please don't forget to click the like button or the subscription button. That's the Rankin Report for Sunday, April the 11th, 2021. God bless you, and have a great day.